Okay, good evening and welcome to the regular public meeting of the Halton District School Board. It is Wednesday, October the 20th. It is Wednesday, November the 3rd, 2021. As per our board meetings, this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the hdsb.ca website. As per public health recommendations, we are meeting remotely this evening. I will now take trustee roll call. Please answer as I call your name in alphabetical order by last name. Trustee Amos.
Good evening, everyone.
Trustee Bao. We'll come back to Trustee Bao. Trustee Collard.
Good evening.
Trustee Daniele.
Thank you. I am here.
Vice Chair Al Harrison.
Hello, I'm here.
Trustee Garrett.
Great to be here.
Trustee Gray.
Hello from the hills.
Trustee Oliver.
Good evening, everyone.
Trustee Reynolds.
Hello.
Trustee Rocha. Oh, yes, Trustee Rocha mentioned she will be a little late today. And Trustee Shuttleworth.
Hello, everyone.
And Trustee Vidyalankara.
Good evening, everyone.
And I'm going to try for Trustee Bao, see if she's...
Good evening.
Excellent. Wonderful. And Director Ennis, could you please note the staff that are in attendance this evening?
Thank you, Chair Gobranson. Good evening, everyone. Through you, we have a full complement of staff here this evening with us, and looking forward to our meeting.
Thank you very much. I believe, is it Trustee Shuttleworth that is honoring the land this evening?
No, it would be Trustee Al Harrison.
It's Vice Chair Al Harrison. Okay. Go right ahead, Vice Chair Al Harrison.
Thank you. Halton, as we know it today, is rich in history and modern traditions of many First Nation and the Métis. From the Anishinaabe to the Attawandaron, the Haudenosaunee, and the Métis, these lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in Indigenous history. As we gather today on these treaty lands, we have the responsibility to honor and respect the four directions: land, waters, plants, animals, ancestors that walked before us, and all the wonderful elements of creation that exist. We would like to thank and acknowledge the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation for sharing their traditional territory with us.
Thank you very much. This week is Treaties Week, Treaties Recognition Week, which runs from November the 1st to the 7th. The Halton District School Board is committed to ensuring our staff and students are provided with meaningful opportunities to learn about the importance of treaties. The land and treaty acknowledgement used by the Halton District School Board was developed with elders, knowledge guides, and guidance from the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This statement recognizes the historical and current treaty relationships in the area the Halton District School Board encompasses. It is important for all of us to understand the significance of treaties, that they are applicable today, and that they ensure the rights of many First Nations people. As part of honoring our commitment to the Truth and Reconciliation Calls to Action and Treaties Recognition Week, Halton District School Board schools have been asked to display the flag of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation in their buildings. The flag is also currently on display at J.W. Singleton Center, where the board office is. Are there any declarations of possible conflict of interest this evening? Looking to the speakers list. Seeing none. Next, we are up to the agenda. Trustee Amos, would you like to move a motion to approve the agenda? Trustee Amos?
Yes, sorry, go ahead. Yes, I'd like to move the motion.
Okay, great. And Trustee Daniele, would you like to second the motion?
Thank you. Yes, I will.
Okay, is there any discussion on the agenda this evening? Looking to the speakers list? Seeing none. All those in favor of approving the agenda this evening?
I'm a yes. That's Margot.
Okay. I believe I'm missing. Oh, there we go. And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay. Next, we are up to our Inspire Awards. Tonight, we are honored to present 5 awards. Award nominations were accepted through the past, through September. And Trustee Shuttleworth will run the presentation created by Heather Francie in the Communications Department. Before each presentation, I will name the recipients and the name of the trustee that will be presenting the award this evening. And our first award is going to Jeffrey Attard. And this award will be presented by Trustee Collard.
Thank you, Chair Gerbentz. Jeffrey is a teacher at Frontenac Public School. He is described as a dedicated teacher, advocate, problem solver, counselor, friend, and team player. Jeffrey supports students with special education needs and ensures students and their families feel included and supported. Parents credit Jeffrey in helping their children reach goals they once thought were unreachable. He goes out of his way to ensure each student is comfortable and learning to their best potential. He helps students, some of whom are nonverbal, make special videos for their families during the holidays and mail letters for Mother's and Father's Day. Jeffrey can put a smile on anyone's face in an instant. He is involved, hands-on, excited, positive, supportive, has a great sense of humor, and he inspires his students and their families and staff every day. Thank you so much for what you do. Congratulations, Jeffrey.
Congratulations, Jeffrey. The next award is going to Susan Farnand of Florence Mears Public School, and I will be presenting this award. Susan is a teacher at Florence Mears Public School. She goes above and beyond to support her students, making their mental health and well-being the highest priority. Parents are grateful to Susan for taking the time and effort to support their children with their mental well-being. Susan provides time and space for students in need of support to clear their minds and catch up on work at their own pace while working with them along the way to help them succeed. Parents are so appreciative of the support, guidance, and encouragement Susan provides students and their families. Congratulations, Susan. The next award will be going to the White Oak Secondary School IT team, consisting of Ed Ching, Rachel Yacobucci, Caitlin Temp, Steve Lubourvo, and Robin Persad and Jason Pyers. And this will be presented by Trustee Amos.
Thank you. It is my honor to present to the White Oak Secondary School IT team, who includes the following teachers: Ed Ching, Rachel Yacobucci, Caitlin Kemp, Steve Lubourvo, Robin Persad, and Jason Pyers. This group goes above and beyond in troubleshooting IT issues for staff at the school. The past year has been extremely busy for them as they support teaching staff with all things tech related. The speed at which this group problem-solved tech solutions for a school the size of White Oaks is remarkable. Their can-do attitudes and patience is inspiring. Not only are they always eager to help, they've created a simple method for requesting tech assistance and offer learning sessions for staff. They are always willing to offer group or individual coaching for staff to resolve an issue or help develop a new learning journey in a technological way. They have created an environment where staff feel more comfortable incorporating technology into student learning because they know they have support if they need it. Their work is so important in ensuring technology is used effectively, that students are engaged, and that learning continues seamlessly and effectively through technology. Congratulations to all these members of the White Oak Secondary IT team. You have inspired us all.
Congratulations to everyone. The next award is going to Ryan Henderson. And I will be presenting this award because he was nominated for his role as Vice Principal of Rolling Meadows Public School. His wisdom, empathy, humor, and patience lifts people up. Greeting everyone at the door, having his office open for counseling and well-being check-ins, suggesting activities outside the box, Ryan creates an environment where students and staff feel supported and valued. Through Ryan's guidance, teachers have been able to enhance meaningful relationships with students in need and decrease behavior challenges. Through his involvement in school life, from extracurricular activities, games, concerts, overnight trips, to volunteering at the dunk tank, Ryan has a tremendous impact on students, staff, parents, guardians, and the community. His ability to empathize with students and make staff feel empowered is inspiring. Congratulations, Ryan. The next award will be going to Kevin McConvey, and this will be presented by Trustee Gray.
Good evening. Kevin is a vice principal at Georgetown District High School. His warm and supportive attitude not only makes students and parents feel seen and heard, but it has a direct and positive impact on students' abilities to feel confident and comfortable attending school and achieving their goals. During a time when many students have been struggling with their mental health, Kevin has gone above and beyond to support these students and find solutions to accommodate their needs so that they can be successful. He develops innovative strategies to accommodate individual student needs and coordinates with teachers and helps build students' confidence in their ability to succeed. He takes time to get to know students and form connections to build trust so that students feel they have a partner in their education. Parents credit Kevin's efforts in making school a better place where their children feel comfortable and can thrive. Kevin does everything he can to support students as individuals and create a learning environment where innovative practices that enable student success and well-being are encouraged. Congratulations, Kevin.
And congratulations to our Inspire Award recipients for your outstanding support for Halton District School Board student achievement and well-being. And a special thank you as well to Susan Thrasher in the director's office, who works every month to make sure trustees have all they need to assess nominees and provide a conduit of information. For everyone watching this evening, please continue to nominate people or organizations who support our students and their achievements through exemplary, caring, initiative, innovation, and creativity. The nomination form is available on the hdsb.ca website. And just a note, Trustee Gray, your mic is still on. As per the agenda, we have one presentation this evening: supporting student and staff mental health and well-being. And this will be presented by Superintendents Taha and Barnes. Go right ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Myself and Superintendent Taha will be taking a few moments to outline some key interventions and programs for student and staff well-being. The source funding for various measures is provided by the Ministry of Education to school boards and earmarked dollars to support student and staff well-being. And all of these measures have been supportive to students during the pandemic. Common mental health and well-being concerns for HDSB students. leading into the 2020.
Sorry. Excuse me, Superintendent Barnes. Were you going to show some slide or information?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say that the slides aren't projecting, Dean.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Let's try that again.
Yes, we can see that now.
Okay, thank you. So just starting again, we just wanted to touch on some student and staff well-being interventions that have happened this year and have been supported by the dollars provided by the Ministry of Education and school boards. And these dollars are earmarked for student and staff well-being. So our mental health and well-being strategy plan, it is the focus of our work. Common mental health and well-being concerns for HCSB students leading into the 2021-22 school year include a reduction in protective factors, especially relationships during COVID, and these have impacted student health and well-being. In addition, feelings of distress such as sadness, anxiety, loneliness, and stress have increased. Our interventions to support students have been guided by the mental health and well-being strategy and encompasses students of all ages, grades from kindergarten to high school. It provides a blueprint and recommendations for action while raising the profile and decreasing the stigma around mental health issues. The scope of the strategy is broad and grouped into key areas: student mental health and well-being, mentally health school and classroom environments, and mental health support and care. Our mental health strategy aligns with the mental health strategy and operational plan for student well-being. We have priorities and partnership fundings, which have enabled our board to offer summer mental health supports, which you can see on this slide. This resulted in the temporary hiring of 13 child and youth care workers and 16 social workers. And this supported summer mental health service pop-up, which was very popular. At the end of July, the intake received 1,000 referrals, and we had over 500 students in therapeutic groups, in addition to almost 100 students receiving individual mental health support due to their level of clinical urgency. To date, during this current school year, the following additional funding resources have been made available. We've had grants for mental health supports, resulting in the retention of 1 CYC and a social worker. We've had mental health supports, which have allowed us to hire 2 CYCs and 1 social worker. We've had additional priorities and partnership funding, which has enabled us to hire 4 CYCs, and the remainder has been used for school-based staff. And the other additional items, to give some examples, have been stress relief for kits for students and professional development training for social workers and CYCs. Most recently, the Student Wellbeing Department has provided mental health and wellness sessions for students. And as you can see, the topics have been October, improve your sleep; November, boost your mood; upcoming in December, managing difficult feelings; and January, stress busting. Just in closing, before I pass on to Superintendent Taha, I did want to mention that we are expecting a second release of COVID funding and PPFs. And this funding will allow us to consider additional targeted support and staffing to support students. And we are also anticipating that come summertime, the additional supports for summer, we hope that this money will also be utilized in that fashion. So I'm going to pass on to Superintendent Taha now.
Thank you.
He's going to be speaking about support for staff.
Thank you, Superintendent Barnes. If you can just hit the back button for, thank you. Through you, Chair Gerbrands, to the rest of the board, good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to present on the supports that we have been delivering to students and staff. For the purpose of this presentation, I will focus exclusively on 2 undertakings that we have well underway. And as Superintendent Barnes pointed out, the financial resources that allowed us to engage in those 2 undertakings were COVID funding earmarked to support students and staff mental health and well-being. Before I go into those two initiatives, a bit of a contextual backdrop, a bit of a context and landscape. Not dissimilar to students, our staff have also been impacted and challenged by the COVID pandemic. The pandemic has taken its toll on staff's physical well-being, mental well-being, social and emotional well-being. And as I've pointed out in previous board meetings, we see it in our neighborhoods, we see it in our homes, we see it in our offices. And the three bullets on the screen are sort of tidbits that allow you to sort of reflect and contextualize what the framework, or the landscape in which we're working in or we're living in. So even after the pandemic, from a clinical point of view, from a transmission point of view, is behind us, and hopefully that's sooner rather than later, we will still be faced with this notion of an echo pandemic. And that's the idea that, the scars, we will still be wearing the scars, and those scars are emotional, these scars are mental well-being scars, and they will continue with us for a long time. So this idea of an echo pandemic, so even after the clinical part is past us, there's a long lingering effect that we have to deal with. A couple of other pieces of information with respect to data. The data is clear in terms of Halton District School Board data. Our mental health claims or disability claims on the basis of deteriorating mental health is on the rise. Our employee and family assistance program providers tell us that the number one reason that staff are calling the service provider is anxiety. And we also know that they are seeking other assistance for other mental health related concerns. Also, I would point out that the various mental health research bodies, for instance, the Canadian Mental Health Association, also point out to the drastic increase in anxiety, in burnout, in substance abuse and use. So clearly, we're not immune to that as a school board, as a sector. And more importantly, these are also conversations that we've had with our union partners and obviously with senior admin and the Board of Trustees. So this is sort of the backdrop or the context or the landscape that we're operating in. So if you can hit the next slide, please, Superintendent Barnes. So the two things I want to focus on is the first one is the ripple effect program. And again, the monies to support this from a financial perspective were available through the COVID funding. So the premise behind the program is, well-being, mental well-being and social well-being is also correlated and interconnected with physical well-being. If we feel well physically, we certainly can impact our mental health and well-being positively. So the program is really focused on giving staff the opportunity, the tools, the information to elicit changes in their daily lives. And those changes relate to their sleeping habits, their nutrition habits, and what they consume, what they eat, what they drink. Also with respect to their moving and activity and exercise. And lastly, with respect to their mindset and their perspective on what's happening around them. And also this program is available not only to staff, it's available to their families. In terms of the program components or the method of delivery, the three key curriculum aspects or components, let's say, are on the slide. There are virtual presentations that are available either in a live format or taped, delivered by Dr. Greg Wells, who's the brain trust behind this program. And in these presentations, it's his way of showing how you can introduce small changes in your daily life. 1% can make a positive impact on your mental health and well-being and to improve it. Also, it's a program that is tailored to your own specific needs. So if you sign up for the program, you initially will do a health index questionnaire and an assessment. And in doing so, it'll help the program designers in guiding you in terms of the best supports that are best tailored to your needs and wants and your state of health, mental and physical. And lastly, there are articles, podcasts, videos, and worksheets available online for staff and their families. So those are the three key components of the program that are available to staff. And again, the availability of this program is free of charge for staff, as the board is covering the cost. Next slide, please. Thanks. In terms of program participation and feedback, we've launched this program, I would say, back in April. So in reality, it's been on the ground for roughly 5 months. I don't count the summer months. So in 5 months, we've had over 1,000 employees, mostly permanent employees, enroll in the program. I think that's a good thing. We continue to promote the program and its usefulness and its value. In terms of the demographic, the average age of a participant is around 46 years old, and they're mostly female, identify as female. The feedback we're receiving from Dr. Greg Wells in terms of, and that's based on the health index that's being completed by staff, is that we're a high-performing board. We're performing at a high level, we are focused, but that's coming at a price. We're stressed and we're tired. In terms of our nutrition, given the hustle and bustle of careers and families, we're taking shortcuts. So we're not consuming enough fruits, vegetables, and water. And that's obviously is going to impact our physical well-being and mental health and well-being. We're not getting enough exercise either, and that's correlated to, again, the reality of life. And we need to focus more on that. And lastly, with respect to sleep, we're not faring too badly. We're getting our 7-hour sleep, even though it's interrupted. But he's noticing that we are not in any way relying on sleep aids. At least that's what the data shows. So those are some of the high-level, feedback or reflections from the participants in the program. So that's basically, an overview, a very brief overview of the Ripple Effect program. I encourage you to take a look at it and to join it if you so choose to. The other initiative or undertaking that we're really excited about, and this is more of a long-term undertaking, it's aligned with our multi-year plan values and objectives with respect to supporting our students' health and staff health and mental well-being. It's a long-term strategy to make a long-lasting impact on a culture that values and champions mental health. So the School Board Cooperative Incorporated Mental Health and Wellbeing Organizational Audit is something that is well underway. And really the audit is a partnership with SBCI. SBCI, if you do not know, is a firm or a cooperative that works for school boards supporting their attendance support programs and supporting the disability management programs on the occupational side. So the audit is designed to assess the needs of staff, raise awareness around mental health issues, reduce stigma, provide effective training to key stakeholders, and implement strategies to build a culture of mental health and well-being. And that's what the audit aims to achieve. We want to assess the well-being of the organization in terms of its ability to withstand those shocks, mental health shocks that we are experiencing. The audit components, what is it that they'll go about doing is they will identify psychological hazards in the workplace. And a psychological hazard, if you ask me what that is, that could be many, many different things. Workload and workload stress is a psychological hazard. Bullying and harassment is a psychological hazard. Fatigue is a psychological hazard. Violence of students on students or students on staff or staff on staff or staff on students. Those are all psychological hazards that they will be identifying to see if we are equipped to respond to them proactively and in an effective way. Also, the other component is mitigating risks in the workplace associated with these hazards that cannot be eliminated. So in other words, in a pandemic, in the uncertainty of the pandemic, for example, pivoting back and forth between different learning models, are we able to withstand those kinds of uncertainties and shocks? Are we able to withstand the uncertainty? So because these are stressors that are outside of our control sometimes. So how do we go about mitigating those stressors and implementing controls that will allow us to mitigate them? Implementing practices that support and promote psychological health and safety in the workplace. And finally, implementing systems of measurement and reviews. It's not a one and done kind of a thing. It's about, here's the audit, here's what it revealed, here's what you need to do, how are you doing this year, and how are you doing next year, and so on and so forth. So it's a long-term game in terms of mental health and well-being for the organization. And final slide, please. The pillars of the program, or its sort of key drivers, is number 1, prevention, number 2, promotion, and thirdly, supporting the workplace. So prevention, again, it's about the implementation of the Canadian Standards Association of the standard on psychological health and safety in the workplace, and that is assessing that, do we meet that standard? Are we able to identify barriers? Are we able to respond to them? Are we able to eliminate them? promoting, and that's about implementation of training modules for people leaders and supporting staff and school board employees in general, campaigns to raise mental health awareness and communication strategy, and lastly, reviewing our existing HDSB supports and making recommendations for improvement. So this undertaking is underway in terms of its rollout. Lisa Kada from the Health and Safety Health and Wellness is leading that endeavor with my support and the support of senior admin, and we'll continue to report on our progress in due time. And lastly, this didn't make it in time at the time of writing this report. We're also looking at two other things that are also aligned with this mental health and well-being program for SBCI, and that is the idea of creating mental health first aiders in our schools. So as you know, we have first aiders in our schools that deal with EMS emergencies and physical emergencies. So the idea that there's a mental health first aider in the school is something that we're considering. We're reviewing and examining how we go about doing that. It's in early stages, but again, it's an initiative that also we're excited about, and we've partnered with our union partners to implement that in our schools. So more info will be coming on that. And with that, we're happy to take questions.
Thank you very much. I'm looking to the speakers list. And I don't see anything yet, but I just want to comment on those mental health first aiders. Actually, I have recently heard about them myself, and I think this is a really great idea, as it recognizes that there are the mental health crisis can be just as bad as a physical health crisis. And so I look forward to hearing more about them, and hope that they are implemented in our schools. So thank you. Looking to the speakers list, Trustee Shuttleworth, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to both Superintendent Barnes and Superintendent Taha. I really appreciate the detail you gave to us this evening. I do have a question about how you are promoting the ripple effect programming and those programming. So you said that over 1,000 are enrolled. From our previous discussion of staff, I know we have 9,995 staff. So that's roughly 10%. However, 1 in 5 Canadians suffer mental health issues. So really, although that's great, I'm just wondering how we are reaching those people that maybe, don't like to ask for help. So what sort of things are we doing to be proactive in trying to engage our staff and our students in the support network?
So I can start through you, Chair Grabens, to Trustee Shuttleworth and the rest of the trustees. We have been aggressively communicating the Ripple Effect program to our staff using the various communication methods and vehicles that we have available to us between our internal website, our external website, our internal communication systems such as Gmail. We have developed posters and pamphlets promoting the program. To your point with respect to how are we reaching staff who truly would benefit from this, through disability management, this is part of our communication and support strategy, that even though perhaps the case management that we are engaged in is not necessarily focused on sleep, eat, and exercise, it's something that would augment the case management that we're doing. We'll continue to try to increase those numbers. I think our staff are tired, and in a ironic way, perhaps they're not paying much attention to some of these communication overload, but we need to reach a larger group. I can say that the majority of the 1,000 employees are permanent employees. We're roughly 7,000 permanent employees, but point well taken that we need to push it even more because it is a good thing. So thank you for that.
Okay, the next speaker on the speakers list is Trustee Collard. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you to Superintendent Taha. The first time I ever heard of mental health first aid was actually about 8 years ago when former trustee Catherine Bateman Olmsted brought forward a motion with respect to first aid for mental health. And at that time, it was in its infancy. So I know that she would be extremely pleased to see that this is now something that we're doing at our board. My question to you is about SBCI. The audit committee will also be, has also approved as part of our regional internal audit, an internal audit of our mental health and well-being and with respect to the pandemic. I'm wondering if the information that you are getting through SBCI will be used for that audit as well.
Thank you, Trustee Collard. Through you, Chair Gerbens, Trustee Collard, and rest of the board. Absolutely, I do apologize. I should have pointed that out. That also that partnership with SBCI is also with the audit committee in mind, and the mandate to undertake an audit, which is an unconventional audit with respect to mental health. Typically, audits about more numerical things. But yes, that will be part of the audit exercise, that we share that information with the audit committee.
Thank you very much for that. I'm encouraged to hear that news. Thank you.
Okay, and the next speaker is Trustee Oliver. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. First, I want to express my gratitude to our mental health staff for being able to use this COVID mental health funding quite quickly and pull together such a amazing summer program, something that's quite outside of the box, I think, in being able to deliver mental health supports to our students and their families during the course of the summer. The numbers are staggering, and that's probably just the tip of the iceberg in the referrals that were made. We know that there's probably many, many more students who are in need, and we know that our community supports are overwhelmed and underfunded. So this COVID funding for the school board, specifically for mental health, is very much needed and appreciated. I am well aware of the wonderful work that our mental health team does, having served on the mental health committee. They're always trying to come up with new and innovative strategies to support our students and our staff. But that comes at a high price as well, given the tremendous need in our HDSB community, and a need that will probably continue to increase. So I'm just wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about the funding. There were additional staff hired, which clearly are much needed. What are the plans for this funding going forward? And if the province puts an end to that under the umbrella of COVID mental health support, what can we expect in terms of continuing this enhanced supports, which are clearly needed?
Through you, Chair, to Trustee Oliver. You're right. The supports have been really much needed, and we never always feel like we have enough. But we are continually monitoring the needs of students. The mental health strategy is sort of owned by everyone. So the tiered support, certainly we are spending dollars on interventions and supports from CYCs and social workers. But one of the things that continues to happen on the ground floor is our teachers are continuing to engage with their students and being there for their students. And we hope to continue to have that emphasis. Your question about what happens if the money goes, it's some of the discussions we are having right now with the senior team, and try to be proactive and try to look ahead to second semester and also summer, because as you say, there have been some wins out of all this in terms of the thinking out of the box, but we don't want to be caught off guard and being short in supporting our students. Thank you.
You have a follow-up?
Yes, thank you, Chair. My follow-up is around the students who were supported during the summer. Is there an ongoing communication with these students? Have we done some kind of an evaluation around how that support worked, what more is needed, anything kind of on a going forward basis, while acknowledging that there will be new students coming in with new and different needs?
And through you, Chair, to Trustee Oliver and all the trustees. There was an in-depth analysis that was done, and you might recall in another presentation at CHAC, one of our managers did present the results, and they did show that there was a positive impact on the groups and allowed us to sort of reach our supports across the schools. Those students were followed up and supported by the social workers in our schools, and we continue to do groups right now, and we'll be continuing to do that in the future. We're also doing the parent sessions, as you've probably been aware, and there's been a large uptake on the parent sessions in terms of everyone supporting, and also student sessions as well. So we are going to continue to monitor the impacts.
Okay, thank you. Y'all
Sorry,
have to come
Chair.
back.
Sorry, Chair, just one more. Okay.
If you could, yes, go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Thank you. In the presentation around student supports, there were a number of sessions outlined that would be taking place both during the day and after school. I'm wondering, does any student qualify for this, or do they have to be referred? So basically, if this is a helpful strategy, can we widen the accessibility to make sure that any student who's interested can participate, whether it's a recorded session or online?
Yeah, through you, Chair, Trustee Oliver and all the trustees. There's different programs and different criteria. As I mentioned, there is a lot of things are happening at the school level as well. There's mental health contact leads at schools, and there's initiatives that are happening at the tiered level support for students. And as you move up the chain in terms of requiring more supports, that's when the groups come into play. We did get some feedback that some of the timing of the sessions didn't work out for all students. So we are relooking at that for second semester to make sure that's more accessible for all students. And we'll just continue to try to provide as much accessibility as we can.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Shuttleworth, go right ahead.
Hi, thank you through your chair. So this actually is going back to Trustee Oliver's first question. You spoke about funding. Now I seem to, and this might be a question for Superintendent McGoy. You spoke about funding, and I seem to recall back a while ago when we spoke about mental health, we have only received half of the funding to date. When are we expecting to see the next half of that funding?
Yeah, through you, Chair, it's Trustee Shuttleworth. I think I will call upon Superintendent Goy to respond on that in terms of what's happened the previous years with funding, if she can.
Yeah, because this is the COVID funding, so I think it's slightly different, but I think Roxanne will know the answer.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And for the chair to Trustee Shuttleworth, we don't have a date. We expect it to be soon, as it will factor into revised budget, which is due mid-December. So we are hoping to hear information on the release of the second half and whether anything has changed in the next weeks. So I don't have a better answer. Having said that, we do expect that it will be coming. There hasn't been change or any discussions around not releasing that funding. And we will capture that through our revised estimates. I can tell you that the senior team has been working in the background on what are some of the supports that we would need to add to the system and how we can make the most of that funding, in addition to potentially using some of our board reserves for consideration in order to close some of those, whether it's learning gaps or mental health and well-being initiatives.
So just a quick thought, we are confident that's coming then? That's a definite second half? Like I'm just worried, like if we are hearing about that second half of money, when do we as a board ask? Like start to write more letters.
I can't say I'm confident. I personally am hopeful that it's coming, and I haven't received any sort of hints that it's not, but I cannot guarantee that money will be released or that it will be released in the same quantities or the same focus as it was originally allocated. It was allocated by board. So each board knew you'll have this much money towards staffing, mental health and well-being, special education support, other COVID measures. So that may change. So that it may change. I can tell you that as part of the COSBO group, we have submitted to the ministry the importance of releasing that funding and the challenges we have. Mental health has been one of the areas where we were requesting additional support and allowing us flexibility within that second half of COVID funding to address some of these challenges. So we're hoping that that will inform their decision, and in the next couple of weeks, we'll know more of that funding.
All right, thank you. I hope to hear good news in the next couple of weeks, and thanks very much.
Director Ennis, did you want to speak?
I just wanted to add just briefly that there's a number of advocacy happening in addition to what Superintendent Ngoy has said. CODE, which is the Council of Directors of Education, is also advocating and for an expedited release of these second half of the funding. And so I know that the ministry is listening, and based on everything that I hear when I'm in conversation with the deputy minister, I believe that there's a high probability that this is going to happen. The specificity and the amounts that will be given, of course, will vary. But I think there's a strong leaning that we might get some good news soon.
Thank you. And I know that topic has come up at during the chair's weekly call with the minister as well. Thank you very much for this presentation. It was very informative, and appreciate all the work that you're doing for the students and the staff of the Halton District School Board. Okay, so we are now going to move on. There are no delegations this evening, so we are up to the consent agenda items. Trustee Garretts, would you like to make a motion to deal with the consent agenda?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Excellent. Trustee Shuttleworth, would you like to second?
Sure.
Wonderful. I'm going to put the motion on the floor. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the consent agenda action items and receive the information items for November 3rd, 2021. Are there any items that need to be pulled for discussion? Looking to the speakers list, we have the board minutes, the order paper, and the board report schedule. So I don't want to, just in case, I don't want to beat the internet in my jumped again. Okay, everybody seems pretty happy with what's there. So all those in favor of approving the consent agenda? Got a little mixed here. I believe that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, we are now on to approval of business transacted in private session. Vice Chair Harrison, do we have any business from private session that requires approval?
Yes, we do.
Go
There
right
are
ahead.
2 motions through you, Madam Chair. Here's the first one. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the resolution from private session November 3rd, 2021, relating to property matters, report 21128, and I so move.
Thank you. Trustee Gray, would you like to second this motion?
Yes, I would.
Is there any discussion on this motion? Looking to the speakers list. Seeing none. All those in favor? Oh, I see what's going on there. And I believe that carries, but not unanimously. The one dissenting vote is Trustee Garretts. Thank you. And I just need to move something here. Oops. Sorry about this. I have to delete something. so that my form works. Okay. Thank you very much. And you can move to your next item.
Okay, thank you. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the resolution from private session November 3rd, 2021 relating to property matters, report 21138, and I so move.
Thank you. Trustee Garretts, would you like to second this motion?
Yes, I would. Thank you very much.
Looking to the speakers list for any debate. Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay. Moving on. We're going to action items for November the 3rd. We have 2 action items for this evening. I'd like to draw your attention to 521 2021-22 LTAP School Boundary Reviews, Report 21126, submitted by Executive Officer Gadet. Executive Officer Gadet, would you like to speak to this before we put it on the floor?
Certainly. Once again, through you, Chair Gerbentz, to trustees, we'd like to thank our planning team for their hard work on the LTAP refresh and the outcome of that, this school boundary review report that has come forward previously. And myself and General Manager Thibault are here to answer any questions, should there be any.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking to the speakers list. Now, this is the second time this report has been in front of the board. So, actually, I'm going to ask Trustee Rocha if she'd like to move this.
Yes, I'll move it. Thank you.
And Trustee Oliver, would you like to second?
Yes, I second that.
Wonderful. I will read the recommendation. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board direct staff to complete a boundary review for ERA 107 and 108 with the objective of eliminating split cohorts for the French immersion program. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board direct staff to complete a boundary review for ERA 120 and 123 and SRA 104 and 105 with the objective of eliminating split cohorts for the French immersion program. And be it resolved that the Halton District School Board directs staff to return to approve additional school boundary processes in year as a result of upcoming capital priorities announcements. Now I will look to the speakers list to see if there's any further discussion on this. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to the next item, 522, Trustee Honoraria 2021-22, Report 21133, submitted by Superintendent Ngoy. Superintendent, would you like to speak to this before we put it on the floor?
Thank you. Through the chair to all trustees, the only change to the report since our last board meeting is clarification around the term of the trustee ending on November 14th with no change to the honoraria. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Trustee Collard, would you like to move this?
Yes, thank you.
And Trustee Rocha, would you like to second?
Yes, I would. Thanks.
Okay, I will read the recommendation. Be it resolved that the Halton District School Board approve the trustee honoraria effective December 1st, 2021, as noted in Appendix A of the trustee honoraria policy. Superintendent Ngoy, just a quick question. I added that of the trustee honoraria policy because the recommendation in the report just said in Appendix A, and I needed a little context. Is that reasonable to add those words? Okay, thank you. So I read the whole thing. Okay, so is there any debate on this recommendation at all? Okay, seeing none. Again, this is the second time at the meeting. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, and now we are up to communications to the board, and my favorite part of the evening, well, of course, the inspired words are a favorite item of the evening for me too, but I absolutely adore the student trustee report. So trustees Vidyalankarra and Bao, please go right ahead.
Good evening, everyone. It's so lovely to see you all again. After the last board meeting, Trustee Vidyalankarra and I filmed a quick video for Trustee Shuttleworth for Local Government Week, giving elementary students insight as to what the role of a student trustee entails. We also have posted the applications to join the environmental management team to our senators on Google Classroom this morning, and we can't wait to read all the applications. The deadline is to apply is Sunday because the next meeting for ETM is on Tuesday, November 9th. Tomorrow, Trustee Vidyalankarra and I will be heading off to Toronto for Osta Echo's fall general meeting for the next 4 days. We're very excited to meet the other student trustees across the province in person. So now I'll pass it on to Trustee Vidyalankarra.
Thank you. Through the chair, Trustee Bao and I have been working with fellow trustees and Associate Director Bogue on the Student Trustee Policy Subcommittee. Together, we have been making revisions to the current student trustee policy. Secondary senators will have the opportunity to review the revised policy and give feedback at our next Senate meeting. And these revisions to the student trustee policy will likely lead to the need for a new admin procedure relating to the student trustee elections. So seeing as this is outside of the purview of the Board of Trustees, we would like to signal to the director and senior staff that students will be wanting to know the procedure for student trustee elections prior to the start of the election season in February. So we would also kindly request that Student Senate be able to review the AP once it's ready. Lastly, Trustee Bao and I have had the opportunity to read the land acknowledgement for the upcoming Halton Environmental Collective virtual discussion with climate activist and author Dr. Catherine Hayhoe. She'll be sharing more about her new book, Saving Us, and we really hope that students and families alike will join the live event virtually on November 18th. And our second Student Senate meeting will be on Tuesday, November 9th from 6 to 9 p.m. We look forward to seeing our senators again, and we welcome all trustees and senior staff to attend and observe. Thank you so much, and we're happy to answer any questions or comments.
Thank you very much. And I am looking to the speakers list. Seeing none at this time. Thank you so much for your report. Really appreciate it. And we will now be moving on in the agenda. So, okay, we are up to action items for November 17th. And we have items that come to the board table more than once. They tend to be items that are may have some strong community ramifications. So we have item 621, school renaming, formerly Ryerson Public School, report 21135, and this was submitted by Communications Manager Denton. So Ms. Denton, go right ahead.
Thank you, Chair Grabentz. Through you to all trustees, thank you for the opportunity to present this short list of names for Ryerson Public School. As you know, at the June 16th board meeting, trustees unanimously approved the motion to rename the school on Woodward Avenue in Burlington. In accordance with that motion, we began the process as early as possible in September. And because the motion indicated that the process had to be completed by the end of November. We gathered names from September 7th until the 24th. We generated 1,242 names in total. through some promotion, media releases, posters. We sent an email to all HTSB families and, of course, posted on all our social media and school websites and newsletters. The shortlisting committee took the 1,242 names and met 3 times to review those names and to allow us time to meet with experts and consult. On the committee were Trustee Shuttleworth, Trustee Garretts, Tracy Pulford, the principal of Ryerson Public Schools, School Superintendent Claire Proto, and parent Sharon Scholl from Ryerson Public School, and myself. On behalf of the committee, I would like to put forward the following 3 names for your consideration. The first name is Creekside. The rationale for that name is that a significant feature of the school and the entire neighborhood is the location of Tuck Creek, which creates the east border for the school playground and the City of Burlington Park. The creek provides students with outdoor learning opportunities, including learning about ecosystems, climate, sustainable development, and it aligns with our environmental leadership commitments in the multi-year plan. The second name for your consideration is Maquendum. This is the Indigenous word for to remember. We actually had 2 submissions with this, the meaning, but after consulting with an Indigenous language expert, we learned that the 2 names that were submitted, which indicated that it was the Indigenous name for to remember, the actual spelling of those 2 submissions was not correct for a standalone name. And our Indigenous language expert indicated that the correct name, when the name is just to stand alone, is Maquendum. And that means, of course, to remember in the Anishinaabe-Moan language. The committee felt using that this Indigenous word for to remember would honor the report of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission concerning residential schools, and of course the reason why Ryerson Public School was being renamed because of the contributions of Egerton Ryerson to the residential school system. And we, of course, felt that this name also aligned with the multi-year plan's commitment area of Indigenous perspectives and awareness. The last name is Parkside School, and that was, again, for similar reasons to Creekside. It is because of the location of the large municipal park, which is an extension of the school playground and an important feature to the community and neighborhood. Students and parents all appreciate the spacious natural land surrounding the school. It's very meaningful, and the school takes advantage of that for recreation and learning. These are the 3 names the shortlisting committee puts forward for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your report. I'm looking to the speakers list, and I see Trustee Gray. Go right ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. Through the chair, I was wondering if we could hear from the trustee of this school for Ryerson Public School. Have you heard the will of the community, or have you reached out to the students, the principal, and others in the community as to their thoughts?
That's me, so you can take me off the speakers list because that's what I was going to speak to. Thank you, Trustee Gray, for the question. I was really honored to be on this committee. It was so nice to listen to the varying perspectives of the people on the committee as well as the children at the school. So Trustee Garretts, myself, and Superintendent Bartro, sorry, went to tour Ryerson School to get a flavor of the school and really speak to the students as to what their pieces of information were. So we had 2 wonderful students who toured the school with us, and we spoke to them about the process that was going on, the rationale behind the process, and what they felt was really important at the school. And they recognize the importance of that Indigenous piece that comes with the school. But I have to say the biggest piece that resonated with them was the nature around the school. They really felt, and again, I look at the school, it's a K-6 school. So all the little guys running around, it's almost a rite of passage to go down to the creek, get your boots wet. And so that piece for me really resonates with me. McQuendam as well. In my ideal world, as I think I was saying to somebody today, it would be nice to have both of those names memorialized within the school in that remember piece, with almost like an acknowledgement of what the school used to be and where we are going and why we've done what we have with the school renaming process. But from my initial discussions with the school, the children at the school, the parents surrounding the school, Creekside would have been what I feel right now is what the students and the school community have the most heart behind. I think all three names are great names. So no matter what name is chosen, I think it will be a great name. But there is a Ryerson Parent Council next Monday, which I'm going to attend, and I will encourage parents and their children to delegate to the board so that we can truly get from the mouth of the community what they want, because I think that's really important in our decision. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Trustee Shuttleworth. Trustee Reynolds, you're next up on the list.
Thank you. Through the chair. First of all, thank you for the report. I was very much looking forward to hearing what the committee had put forward, so thank you very much. I have heard from a few people in the community that the renaming is welcomed and important. However, there was another issue that was brought to my attention concerning the potential outcome that the name of the school and that the municipal park that sits adjacent to it could result in essentially two different names. I recognize there are two different organizations, the Halton District School Board and the city, that are working on using their own naming processes, and that these two separate processes might not end with cohesiveness. Since this community values the symbiotic relationship between the school and the park, as mentioned by Trustee Shuttleworth, I certainly believe it would be beneficial if these two entities could maintain some cohesiveness. So my question is, has this issue come up to the committee, or has there been any community feedback about this possibility that the names may not be the same? And if so, how have you considered that concern?
I think I can answer that for you, Trustee Reynolds. So that's why I put my hand up. I am a silent partner on the city park renaming committee. So I listen. I do not, but again, as you mentioned, city and school decisions are separate decisions. I do not think that the school and the park will have the same names. I think they will be different, but I don't think that should create any disconnect between the school and the park. There are many parks around Burlington attached to schools that don't have the same name. I know Macmillan, Sir Ernest Macmillan, which is a school in the north of Ward 4, has Brittany Park by it. Though that's the only school that I know of. I'm sure I see Chair Prevents nodding her head as well. But there are many schools and parks that are neighbors that don't share the same name. So I don't know that should or would be an issue.
Manager Denton, go right ahead.
I just want to add that I was in touch with the City of Burlington. They're a similar stage of the process as we are, and they are checking on some of their names in terms of Indigenous linguistic accuracy. And so I think they probably have a few names that are being considered. And as of last week, they indicated that they would be sharing their shortlist with the community because theirs is a community vote. And they allow the community to vote on that for, I think it's 2 weeks. So in that respect, it could be any name for the park, and not likely to be aligned with the name for our school.
Okay.
Just follow up, please.
Yes, go right ahead.
Yeah, so I certainly appreciate that, and I acknowledge that schools and parks can have separate names, and I think that the opportunity will be obviously in the marketing of the new name, because we certainly recognize that the community park is used by people can rent it and there's it. So certainly part of our awareness piece is making sure people know that they're connected, but they're different names, because I think people will expect them that live in the community. They may expect them to be the same name. So that's an opportunity for us, but I think it's a point that is well taken. So thank you.
Okay, Trustee Shuttleworth, you are on the list. Did you have anything?
No. I was on the list to answer Trustee Reynolds' question.
That's fine. Trustee Collard, go right ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to say that I do think it's important for us to respect the separate nature of the municipality and the school board. And I actually look forward to having 2 fresh new names that might not be the same. I think it adds character to the community, and I welcome it.
Okay, there are no other speakers on the speakers list, and I just wanted to mention that in North Burlington, I don't know very many schools and parks that have names right beside each other that are the same, except for Brant Hills, because I know CRB has Taywood Park, CH Norton is Cleaver Park. Like they're very different, and that probably goes with the fact that when we build schools, the city names the park and we name the school when it's built, and they're often at different times. Trustee Rocha, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair. Trustee Shuttleworth did allude to part of my question, but perhaps this question is more for Manager Denton. In addition to the council meeting that's happening on Monday, what are, if there are any, plans to communicate the 3 names to the school and to the community so that they are given an opportunity to delegate or express interest for their preferred name?
We did have that conversation at our last committee meeting, and the principal had mentioned that she was going to be keen to share the names with the school and to get them involved in terms of a delegation or get interest within the students for sure, to express an interest. I'm not sure, Claire, if you have anything else to add about that. You may have had other conversations with the principal.
No, it's exactly what you'd mentioned. She's spending a lot of time talking to the kids. They've done a lot of discussion about why the name has changed. I was really impressed with all of the work she's done around Indigenous studies and the reason for the name change, so that the school and the community feel very comfortable about why they're moving forward with this. That was really important. Also, she's on the sidelines collecting every kid's t-shirt size so that when there's a new name announced, every kid can get, and every staff member can get a shirt so they can celebrate the new development and what does that mean in the school culture around that. So she's working really, really hard on all of this. And we'll wait to see if any of the kids come forward with a really strong opinion. But it was lovely to be toured by them. They were incredibly enthusiastic and informative.
That sounds wonderful. Thank you very much. There are no other speakers on the speakers list at this time. So the report comes back in 2 weeks. We vote in 2 weeks, and I assume we may have some delegations before that vote. So thank you very much for the report, and we'll see you again soon. Okay, so we are now up for information items for this evening, and the item in there is the supporting staff and student mental health and well-being report that went along with the presentation this evening. Is there anything further that we should know with the report? I'm assuming no, but I will ask. So Superintendent Taha or Barnes?
Through you, Chair Gribens, no, no further information. We believe we've covered it through the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, up to notices of motion. A trustee caller, go right ahead.
I don't have a notice of motion, but I do have a question. In the motion that we just passed regarding boundary reviews, it listed ERA 107 and 108. But Florence, Mears, and Clarksdale are in 107 and 106. And so I was wondering if that was a typo, or if for some reason we're going to be doing a boundary review in the Orchard community, because that's 108, and that has nothing to do with Florence, Mears.
Superintendent, Executive Officer Gadet or Manager Thibault, would you like to just clarify that? I think it's a typo because it makes sense, but go right ahead.
Through you, Chair Gribens. Yeah, the reason that we had, I think we've omitted 106. The reason is Florence Mears straddles both the FI boundary for Charles R. Baudouin and Clarksdale. Let me just double check.
Clarksdale's in 106.
Yep, I think you're correct. That is a typo.
Thank you so much. Could we have that amended in the motion? I don't think we need to pass it. It's just a typo, but I would appreciate it. I think my community would be quite concerned if they thought they were having a boundary review right now.
Okay. Okay, great. I'm glad we got that all cleared up. So any other notices of motion? Being none, going to the director's report. Director Ennis, you have quite a list there. You might as well get to it.
Thank you, Chair Gribens. Through you, good evening, trustees, once again. Just want to offer that I've been really having a great time going to visiting all the schools and school communities. I've been spending a lot of time, particularly in the north and in Georgetown and Acton and all through Halton Hills. And I believe I'm back there this week again and really enjoying the time in the north. And it's been a great time getting to know the school communities and just wonderful, wonderful leadership in all of our schools up there. And it was just great to see the kind of collaboration and support that exists there. And as well, a number of organizations and agencies have reached out to me, particularly from the Black community, and I've been having conversations with them, meeting with them, speaking with them. Halton Black Voices, the African Caribbean Council of Halton, Halton Black History Awareness Society, among others. I'm finding out that there are a lot of organizations that have advocacy and support for Black peoples of the diaspora in Halton. And so I'm getting to know them and building community and trust and relationship with them as we work in partnership. I want to get to a number of issues that we have listed here. I'm going to ask Superintendent Taha to deal with the first two: vaccination compliance update and mask protocols.
Thank you, Director Ennis. Through you, Chair Gribens, to the rest of the board. An update on our vaccination data. The numbers I provide are as of this afternoon. So with respect to the total number of individuals for which this procedure applies to, we have 9,986 individuals, of whom 9,317 have responded to the attestation requirements. That's a 93.3% response rate. Of those who responded, 8,887 employees affirmed that they are fully vaccinated, which is a percentage of 95.4% of those who responded. They are fully vaccinated. In terms of number of employees who are unvaccinated, 391 employees affirmed that they are unvaccinated, and 669 employees remain as undisclosed status. But as I pointed out on several occasions, both cohorts are considered unvaccinated and are required to participate in rapid testing. In terms of percentages with respect to permanent employees, and that's something that the ministry had asked that we delineate between permanent employees and occasional employees. For our permanent employees, we have 6,936 permanent employees at this point. 6,604 have completed the attestation, which is a response rate of 95.2%. And I can say that 96% of our permanent employees who responded to the survey, to the attestation requirement, affirmed that they are vaccinated, and that's good news. A few quick tidbits. As you know, the testing requirements have increased to 3 times per week, effective November 10th. So we are working with our health and safety and our purchasing department to secure additional kits. Our orders have been placed on October 15th, and we anticipate that they arrive this week, as our kit deliveries will increase given that there are additional testing requirements. Our administrative procedure that outlines the requirements with respect to this procedure continues to change in terms of the options available to employees, in terms of the attestation and testing requirements. So we will be bringing updates to Committee of the Whole for that AP. And finally, we continue to monitor compliance with rapid testing requirements and respond accordingly. Happy to take any questions on that end.
Thank you. Looking to the speakers list, we have a couple of people that have jumped on. Trustee Shuttleworth, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to Superintendent Taha. You spoke about monitoring compliance, and I know at the last meeting you spoke of the progressive discipline that we were going to institute. I am just wondering how many staff do we have that are currently on unpaid leave? Because of non-compliance.
Through you, Chair Gerbez, to Trustee Shuttleworth and the rest of our trustees. To date, we have placed 4 employees on an unpaid leave of absence. They could 4, correct? And the 4 I'm referring to are permanent employees, as they continue to be in a non-compliance state. And with respect to occasional staff, we have roughly 600 employees who are also on unpaid leave of absence. As I pointed out previously, they are unable to accept jobs and be deployed in our system. But with respect to our permanent workforce, we want to be at 0, but at this point we have 4, which is, again, positive news.
All right, thank you very much. I have another question, but I'll come back later.
No, you can have a follow-up. Go right ahead.
Oh, it's not, but it's not a follow-up.
Oh, okay.
So I'll come back.
Thank you. Okay, Trustee Caller, go right ahead.
Thank you. It came to our attention earlier today that the City of Burlington also has reported their attestation levels and vaccination levels, and their staff who are doing the self-testing because they have not been double vaccinated, I believe they're being asked to pay for their own tests. And since we are not getting any funding from this from the province, I'm wondering if there's any thought to having staff who have decided not to get vaccinated to pay for their own tests unless they have a medical reason for not getting the vaccinations. I'm wondering what our thinking is on that, because those tests are not inexpensive.
Through you, Chair Gerbens, to Trustee Collard and the rest of the trustees, I certainly can appreciate your comments, Trustee Collard, with respect to the costs associated with rapid testing on the taxpayers. And as we pointed out, while these kits are being provided by the province, I believe through federal funds, nonetheless, they are not free of charge, and there's also cost to delivering those kits. At this point, we've been consistent in terms of how we've approached this process. We've been aligned and compliant with the direction of the Chief Medical Officer of Public Health and the Ministry of Ed. In other words, deviating from that framework in terms of the dispensing of the kits and the charging of the kits comes with some challenges that we haven't considered. So we haven't considered that approach. I know that these are conversations that happen provincially, but at this point, we will continue to provide these kits, but that may change down the road depending on how things develop.
Thank you. As I was thinking, if it's now 3 times a week, that's adding 50% to our cost.
You are correct. There will be an increased cost, and we will be delivering more frequently.
Okay, Trustee Shuttleworth, your question has been taken care of, correct? Okay, I'm assuming you.
I said yes. Sorry, I was saying yes, but I was muted. But I was
Excellent. So I have a few questions. So the increase, just clearing some things, making sure our community understands what's going on. So these are probably little rapid fire kind of questions. Do we pay for the actual tests out of our budget?
Through you, Chair Gerbens, to the rest of the trustees, and Superintendent Gore can correct me if I'm wrong on this one. Out of our actual budget, I would say no. We are provided the kits, and the funding comes from a different source.
Okay, the next one. The cost of the couriers comes out of our budget, correct? Yes.
Correct.
Okay, and now we've upped that to, again, a 50% more to do that. And I understand we are one of the only boards, if the only board, that actually uses couriers to make sure that the privacy of these tests is maintained. Can you assert that you know?
That is correct. I'm not aware of another board that uses this approach, that we deliver the kits to the homes of the employees, and we believe that's the right approach and prevents problems down the road. Yes, it does come at a cost. And as you pointed out, the 3 times per week will increase those costs, but we believe it is the right approach, and that is delivering these kits, upholding the confidentiality and privacy of our employees.
Okay, Director Ennis, do you have something to add?
Yes, through you, Chair Gerbens, and to the rest of the trustees. Our union partners were also very appreciative of the fact that we have taken as a board an extra step in preserving the confidentiality and privacy of our employees. And so, Superintendent Taha and I spoke early on in the process about this very thing. So I'm glad that we have taken that. I know it's an extra cost, but I think, protection for our employees is very important as well.
Yes, and tracking this, have we incurred any extra costs due to tracking, or will we be incurring extra costs as we move to a 3 test per week for tracking in our employee system or anything like that?
Through you, Chair Gerbens, to the rest of the trustees, no, the system, and I assume you're referring to our platform with which we allow employees to enter the test results and test dates and so on, that the system is scalable enough that it allows for as many entries as required. So fortunately, there's no additional cost to additional enhancements to our HRIS system, at least for now.
Thank you. I personally, I'm kind of becoming of the mind that, I know we're mandated to provide these tests to people that are unvaccinated, but it is costing us. And I'm thinking at one point, perhaps we end up, trying to recover some of these costs through having the employees actually pay for all or part of the courier costs that that are coming out of this. Because personally, I think that the goal for all of us is to get through this pandemic, and to get through this pandemic is to get everybody vaccinated. And so those, and I'm not talking about those that are medically exempt. We would do whatever we can for people who actually cannot get it. But if we are, we should not be incurring the cost of enabling people to continue to choose to be unvaccinated, as that is not what's in the best interest of society going forward, because we will be stuck in this pandemic forever. So I think at this point, I'm not going to make any motion about that. But I think that it is something that we should think about. Anyways, there are no more questions on this particular topic. Go right ahead.
Okay, with respect to, through you, Chair Grabens, to the rest of the trustees, with respect to masking requirements, as I commented on last board meeting, the entire sector, the entire province continues to wrestle with the prospect of providing N95 respirator masks to staff. I've pointed out a few challenges with that approach, and if we are to go down that path, and if we are to survive legislation, there are a few things that we need to be considering logistically and legislatively. So it remains status quo at this point as we consider this, not unlike other school boards. What I can also share with you is through Director Ennis and Code, my understanding is this question with respect to the N95 respirator mask is now being directed to the Chief Medical Officer of Public Health, Dr. Moore, and we are of the understanding that he may be providing direction to school boards on that item. And that's all the information I have at this point with respect to masking requirements.
Okay, there's a couple of people on the speakers list. Trustee Shuttleworth, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, to Superintendent Taha. Now, you were speaking of providing N95 masks. I have had questions from staff from within my community asking of the option for them to wear their own N95 masks. My understanding right now, what I think is that as a board, we are telling them they have to wear the grade 2 medical masks touching their skin. Is that correct? However, so in a sense, they could wear an N95 mask on top. However, the whole idea of an N95 mask is that seal. So I am just wondering about choice that we are, if we are allowing staff at a minimum to wear the grade 2 medical masks, but on their own choice, if they want to, are they able to wear N95 masks?
Through you, Chair Grabens, to Trustee Shuttleworth and the rest of the trustees, the Occupational Health and Safety Act compels employers to provide personal protective equipment in the event that it is necessary for the health and safety of employees and others. So the idea of employees bringing their own personal protective equipment would not survive legislation. And you could also run into problems even with a layering model. Some school boards, a couple of my understanding, are considering a layering approach. And that is you wear a board provided approved personal protective equipment. And then on top of that, you then wear whatever you choose to wear, in this case, the N95 mask. There's two problems with this. One, as I commented on previously, the Ministry of the Halton Public Health, the Ministry of Education, on many occasions have underscored that these respirator masks are neither recommended nor required for our sector. Secondly, the N95 respirator mask, as you touched on it, Trustee Shuttleworth, is really about the seal. So if we are to provide, allow staff to bring N95 masks on their own accord, for it to do its job as designed, it has to meet one of two standards. One is the NIOSH standard, or Health Canada standard, approved standard. And these masks have to be approved by industrial hygienists before they come into the workplace, if we are going to do it adequately and properly. And it's, it's not willy-nilly, for lack of a better word. So bringing those masks into the workplace exposes us to some liabilities, however rare they are. But also you run into other problems. We've talked about the current masks that we have, and sometimes they are a hindrance to students hearing us speaking or projecting our voices. Vocal cord injuries, and I don't mean to go to an extreme scenario, it is not really out of the question if you are layering multiple masks and you are projecting your voice. Students may not hear you. You may have a hard time breathing. And I can say this, that wearing these masks is not as comfortable as one would think. So I understand. I understand why the push for additional supports. Who wouldn't? But I think if we're going to do it, we have to do it the right way and have to be resourced for it.
Through the chair, I'm wondering if Superintendent Blackwell would want to add anything based on her meetings with public health.
Thank you, Director Ennis, and through the chair to Trustee Shuttleworth. I just wanted to add, and we did share this at the last board meeting as well. We have consulted with Halton Region Public Health. There are certain situations where they are recommended. An N95 mask is definitely recommended for staff that are working with students that require aerosol generating medical procedures. I think it's important for us to look at our data. Our staff are very safe. We are not seeing spread in our schools to our staff. We have great staff that have worked really, really hard to work with the protocols that we have in place beyond personal protective equipment. So we have physical distancing, we have hand hygiene. I mean, this is the life our kids are living, right? And our staff, we're in a very different place. We have every confidence that the protocols that we have in place are keeping our staff and our students safe.
Thank you. I'll just keep moving, Chair Gabez.
We have a few more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Why would I presume there are only two questions on this?
Vice Chair Harrison is next on the list.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I would just have a comment and then a question. That it's, to me, it really ties back into the presentation that we heard tonight around supporting student and staff mental health and well-being. And I think that is an important element to this too. I've certainly heard that some staff feel strongly and passionately that it is in their best interest for not only their physical health, but mental health as well, to be afforded the opportunity to bring their own N95 rated masks. So I don't want to lose that piece. While I understand what the experts are saying and advising, I just think that element hasn't really been spoken about tonight. And I also want to just further on our agenda, we have a letter that was written by the Ottawa Carleton DSB to the Minister of Education and Labor, requesting that they consider the approval and endorsement of masking better than level 2, and that the Ministry of Education fund this enhanced PPE for all staff and students across Ontario. So I feel like, for me, I would be very willing to add our voice to that letter and motion that was written by doing a very similar thing, because it would take away some of these other concerns around it would be funded, it would be approved by the province, both ministries involved here. So I'm not sure when the right time is, whether it's here or we can do it under questions and comments, because it is germane to this agenda item. But I would like to, I guess, make a motion that we write a similar letter. So I really do want to honor what I'm hearing from staff. And I know you do too. It's just another approach.
Would you like to make that motion now, or would you like to wait until trustee questions and comments and you can think about it? Or?
Yeah, why don't we wait? Because then we'll have the benefit of the rest of the discussion.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Is there any comment from staff on any of that at this point before I go to the next speaker? Okay, Trustee Collard, go right ahead.
Thank you. Superintendent Blackwell, you spoke about staff who work with vulnerable students or immunocompromised students being provided with N95 masks. And I wonder if we thought beyond the classroom to those staff members who may have fragile students at home or immunocompromised family members who would really be quite anxious about their other family member working in a school and not being able to wear an N95 mask. I am deeply concerned that we haven't thought beyond the classroom about this. Home life circumstances are sometimes very difficult for our staff to navigate. And if you have someone at home who could be very, very ill if they came into contact with this virus, I wouldn't be able to forgive myself as a trustee if I didn't ask the question, are we doing enough? And I just put that out there because I want us to think beyond the classroom.
Through the chair to Trustee Collard, I can appreciate that sentiment for sure, and I'm sure we all feel the same way. I do want to clarify that we have one school where there is a situation requiring aerosol generating medical procedure. It is not just students that have special education needs or that may not be wearing a mask. So they're very different. It's where there would be aerosol particles through a procedure, suctioning procedure, and we do have medical professionals that help provide that support. So there's a very a unique situation as discussed and through public health. I would also like to remind trustees that we do have other PPE available to our staff. We have face shields, which provide a different layer of protection over top of medical masks. And we have 3 different types of eye protection, actually. Any staff are able to access gowns, gloves, 3 types of eye protection. We have different protocols in place. And I forgot to mention in all of the other pieces that we also have vaccination, right? Which is put us in a very different place. But I appreciate your sentiments, Trustee Collard. And I just wanted to clarify that the use of N95s in our schools.
Thanks for that. I appreciate that.
Trustee Bao, go right ahead.
Through you, Chair, to Director Ennis. So recently, a secondary school student messaged me asking whether or not schools can ask students on their vaccination status when planning school events. So they were hoping to plan an ice skating event and other future school spirit events, and they weren't sure how this policy would affect this. So I'm just wondering if the board policy that does not allow asking for the vaccination status only applies to staff, or does this also include students?
Thank you for the question, Trustee Bao. Through you, Chair, I'm going to ask Superintendent Blackwell if she could speak to the operationalizing of status for students and participation.
Thank you, Director Ennis. Through the chair to Trustee Bao. First time I've had a chance to talk to you. Great question. So there is a letter of intent that the Halton Region Public Health has put out. So it talks about vaccination status for students that are 12 years and older. And so any extracurricular activity that exists within our facilities with our students, we do not require proof of vaccination status. For any activity that is outside of the school that is extracurricular, that involves students or anyone that's 12 years or older, would require vaccination status as per the Reopening Act. So for example, if you decided that you wanted to run an event at an arena or community center, that would be subject to that facility to be able to check that status. And one of the things that we've talked about with our schools is around field trips and access for all of our students and equitable access. We still know that, or we know that not every student is comfortable congregating in a large space. We also know that we have students that are not vaccinated for various reasons, and they could have an immunocompromised condition. So we've asked our schools to be very conscientious of any planning of field trips in areas where vaccination status is required. I do know of a school that was seeking clarification in terms of an outdoor skating party for the whole school community. And one of our guidance or guidelines that we need to follow from the ministry is that we are not able to have a whole school assembly. And even though it would be an assembly, it would be still a school event that would be outside. I would parallel that event that you're talking about to an assembly for a school. So I think it requires some guidance. It may have different implications, but I think you want to think about who can't come if there is a vaccination requirement and creating those opportunities. On another note, on a positive note, I think we're really close, right? The vaccination availability for 5 to 11-year-olds is on the horizon. Booster shots are coming. I think we just are required to do a little bit more patience in terms of the protocols that we have in place, because we've all worked so hard, and I know you and your fellow students you're just ready to do normal. But I think you'll see it before the end of the school year, and I think just patience a little bit. And I hope that clarifies what your question was around the vaccination status.
Thank you, Superintendent Blackwell. So I just want to confirm, you said, so we can't ask for the vaccination status for students over the age of 12, but if it's like outside, if it's like arena or a venue, they can ask?
So if it is a school-sponsored event on our site, we don't need to ask. Public Health has said we're good. We have all of our protocols in place. We know how to do our contact tracing. If it's an off-site event, then you would be required to follow the requirements of that off-site event.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies it. Thank you.
Okay, and that is the last speaker. And I just want to mention, I popped onto the regional site that, and right now the snapshot, there are none of our schools that are in outbreak, according to the region, and the vaccination rate of 12 to 17-year-olds across the region is 91%. So that's excellent. And I understand within my calls to the minister and that's actually quite an outstanding level of vaccination, and especially considering that the Premier is hopeful of a 90% vaccination rate to start opening things up. So our 12 to 17-year-olds plus our staff rate make it really amazing. Still, if people are not vaccinated, please go get vaccinated. So moving on to your next topic, go right ahead, Director Ennis.
Thank you, Chair. The next item we have, I'm going to ask Executive Officer Godet to speak to water testing web update.
Thank you, Director Ennis. Through you, Chair Grants, to trustees, you may not be normally accustomed to receiving this update verbally. My hope is that I can switch gears a little bit and rely on our website in the future. We post these results to our website, and as such, we're ending I'll say the 5-year intensive effort of testing all of our drinking fountains within our schools. You may be aware that in 2017, I think it was, the legislation changed and required testing of all drinking water fountains and sinks in our facilities, and the focus was certainly on elementary to begin with, and we had a couple more years to get through our secondary. And so we are wrapping up that 5-year intensive protocol. With that, I'm pleased to report that this year we're down quite a bit. We only have 9 schools with exceedances. So we sampled 144 fixtures, took 294 samples. We have 9 exceedances, 9 school sites. That's down significantly from last year. We had 17 last year. I think this report has typically come to board for information. My hope in the future is that we can just, as these results become available, we publish these to our website. As is always the case, as we do our testing throughout the period of May to October, as we become aware of any exceedances, we notify our schools and work with our public health authority to identify our corrective actions and ensure our compliance with the legislation.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm looking to the speakers list, and I'm seeing no speakers. Thank you very much for the update.
Thank you.
Go right ahead, Director Ennis.
Our next item, Chair, is the redirection of students. Viola Desmond. I'm going to ask Superintendent Newton and General Manager Thibault to speak to this item.
Good evening. We are living in an exciting community in the town of Milton, and because of that, we're trying to keep up with building our schools. At this time, as you know, in March 2020, we directed students that would move into the neighborhoods that would feed into the boundary of Viola Desmond to 6 different schools in Milton to accommodate them, as Viola Desmond had reached its peak and beyond with 18 portables on site. One of the schools that we rejected the English students to go to, if you're in the English program, was Boyne Public School. Since this time, in the last year and a bit, Boyne Public School now is not able to accommodate any other students outside of their area because they need to save space for those that are moving into the Boyne area naturally. So at this time, we are going to redirect students from the March 2020 report from Viola Desmond. So if you move into Viola Desmond, you're new, you have no siblings at Viola Desmond, then you will be directed, instead of going to Boyne in this particular neighborhood in Viola, you will be directed to attend Sam Sherritt. There are the other neighborhoods within Viola Desmond will maintain their direction if they are studying an English program to the other 5 schools that I've directed. But if you were originally directed to Boyne, you will now be effective tomorrow morning. If you're new to the Viola Desmond neighborhood that was going to Boyne, you will be directed to Sam Sherritt. And I will turn it over to Manager Thibault for any further explanation.
Through Chair Gerbens, I have nothing further to add, but happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to look to the speakers list. Seeing no questions at this time, it is incredible the amount of, or the number of people that are continuing to move into Milton and how difficult it is for us to accommodate. The need for schools to be built quickly and efficiently. Okay, on to the ominous other. Director Ennis.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, this evening we have 2 items under other. The first one is a camera update on our buses and courtesy seats. Both will be spoken to by Superintendent Nguyen.
Thank you, Director Ennis, and through you, Chair Grabetz, to all trustees. We just have a couple of updates for the board today. With regards to the camera pilot, we had been discussing before the pandemic that all of our buses are equipped with interior cameras, and as part of our assessment with the Privacy Commission, we were going to undertake a pilot in turning on interior cameras on a number of our routes. And that has been paused as the schools were shut down for a while. And at this point in time, we would like to start the pilot with the start date of November 29th for a period of 12 weeks. So that will be until the end of February. There are 29 schools that are impacted from our board, and a total of 48 between us and the coterminous board. We will be informing the schools that are impacted next week and having communication to the families, again, that will be impacted for the week of November 15th. Be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Looking to the speakers list. Seeing none at this time, go right ahead.
Thank you. And my second item is with regards to courtesy seats. As trustees will recall, they were paused last year as a result of the pandemic and as a result of public health requirements to reduce the number of students on buses. The current year, we do have restrictions in terms of seating charts and contact tracing. However, we are looking at opening up courtesy seats. It will be a reduced number of courtesy seats than in prior years because we do have to take into account a couple of things. We have to ensure there's space for any switch between models, the switch between online and in person. We also cannot load the buses to the same capacity that we would in a normal year when we don't have seating plans and contract. We'll be looking at those applications that are furthest away from the school, so closest to the eligibility criteria based on age and other circumstances, and they will be the first ones to be considered. We are going to open up the application period between November the 8th and November the 28th, so we'll send the communication to parents on Friday. And the assessment will occur during December with the start of courtesy seats when we're back from the break on January 3rd. And I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. We do have a speaker on the speakers list. Vice Chair Harrison, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. My question is about the first topic. I was a little slow. Could you speak to the retention and or destruction of the data that's collected, where that's held on what servers and where they may be, and also, yeah, just the sole purpose of that data?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that question. And through the chair to Vice Chair Harrison, the data is going to be with the bus operators. There is a switch on the bus, so the bus driver does not have access to it. It is just a switch in terms of turning the cameras on and off at the beginning and end of the day. And there is an encrypted site where we would receive the exact feed should video surveillance be requested by a school. And the transportation manager would receive the particular feed on an encrypted site and share that with only those who are who should have access to see the footage.
Thank you. Could you also comment on the retention and or destruction cycle of that data? How long does it stay?
It has been vetted through the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Ontario. I do believe, and General Manager Thibault may remind me, I do believe it was a 30-day storage. However, that's plus or minus a day or two, depending on how much space they take on that storage.
Through your chair, Benz, just to further to Roxana's point, it just depends on the number and the length of the runs. So it's timed, the quality and all that is timed so that it's plus or minus 30 days. And on the 31st day, the intent is that it just completely overrides that first day of the cycle. And the only time that data is pulled is in the event of an incident, at which point that will go through a different retention period for that specific video portion. And then the remainder of it will then be replaced, and then only the piece that is of value will be retained on a separate schedule. So it's meant so that it just auto erases itself over time if no occurrences take place.
Thank you. May I ask a follow-up if I haven't already?
Go right ahead. No one else is on the speakers list.
Thank you. So is the impetus for the program, maybe there's more than one, but a safety impetus? And also, will it help bus drivers to, I guess, can they be more attentive to the road as opposed to the things happening behind them? And are those ones valid, and are there others that I'm just not thinking of?
Thank you for that. And yes, you've sort of answered the question. The school bus is an extension of the school day. So there is an element of supervision, which is not possible with the tall seats and the driver paying attention to the road while driving. So the surveillance cameras certainly would assist in that regard and allow the driver to focus on the road. And it is there to serve as additional information should there be an incident that occurs on the bus. And that could be, as I mentioned, retrieved and reviewed in such instances.
Thanks.
Okay, Trustee Garretts, go right ahead.
Thank you very much. Through you to Superintendent Ngoy. Do we currently have any staff on school buses? And if so, have we contacted our union partners to let them know that we're doing all this?
We do have staff on some of the special education buses. I couldn't say for sure if there's any assisted students on the regular routes that we have selected. It is something I would have to come back with in terms of confirming. And I'm not sure whether they are on these particular routes, any additional staff in addition to the driver.
I see Superintendent Ruddock has come on.
Thank you. Through the chair to Trustee Garretts. Just to confirm what Superintendent Ngoy is saying, that generally speaking, our staff, when we need a support worker on the bus, it's on our smaller buses. We typically would not have a staff member ride a big bus for a special education reason.
Do you have a follow-up at all, Trustee Garretts?
No, thank you.
Okay, there are no other speakers on the speakers list. I'm taking that's it for the other category, correct?
You are correct, Chair. That concludes. I see a hand.
Yes, Trustee Vidyalankara, go right ahead.
I'm so sorry. I just actually wanted to clarify through the chair to Superintendent Nagoy. So I'm sorry, I'm like having a hard time understanding this. So the cameras installed in buses, they're for supervision and safety. So supervision in the sense that we can't have staff. Well, we don't have staff members on buses, and the bus driver obviously can't be expected to supervise while they're driving. But if something does happen in the moment, I guess it is on the bus driver to resolve the situation. But so what's the purpose of the cameras is to review any incident that happens? Is that correct?
Should there's usually what happens with the driver driving, the driver cannot see or address or provide information to school administration on what has occurred. So if there is an incident, say there's a bullying incident in the bus, the bus driver unfortunately is not able to really know what has occurred, hear, see, as they are focused on, from a safety perspective, driving, as well as, you know, the bus seats are quite tall, and a lot of the students you can't quite see behind. This is the cameras are to corroborate certain incidents from happening, whether they happen and what occurred. And it is the responsibility of the school principal and the school administration to deal with such incidents, and not the bus driver.
Okay, thank you. So it's not the bus driver doesn't have to worry about being a witness. The cameras are the witness. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, and we've established that that was the end of the director's report. So I'm going to call a 5-minute recess. So if everybody could be back at 9:11, that would be fantastic. These meetings are long. We started today at 5 o'clock. So we are now up to 6.6, communications from the chair, and you will see that there are a lot of letters listed from 3 different boards: the Rainbow District School Board, the Rainy River District School Board, and the Ottawa Carleton District School Board, the letter that Vice Chair Harrison mentioned earlier. So I encourage people to read those. And we also, on our list there, have a renaming schools governance procedure. We did have a request come into the director's office to rename Craig Kilberger Secondary School. And as per our naming and renaming schools governance procedure, the director and I did meet over this name and looked at the criteria that have been established in our policy and procedure. And at this time, the renaming of Craig Kilberger Secondary School, the request does not meet the criteria. Though we did come across kind of a question with our governance procedure, so we may need to look at it. And that is there a need to circle back with, there's nothing in the procedure about circling back to the person that requested the name change, and just a point that the request did come from somebody that was outside of the Milton community, and Craig Kilberger Secondary School is a Milton school. Okay, there, I don't know if there was a bit of a discussion that in the past about perhaps taking a broad look at all of our school names, and perhaps after we go through the full renaming process at Ryerson, we can look at addressing that, perhaps through bringing it to committee of the whole, but we can talk about that at the next board meeting. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions or comments on that. Please jump on the speakers list. I'm looking over. Seeing none. Okay. We are up to committee reports. We do have the Accessibility Coordinating Committee report attached and submitted by Trustee Shuttleworth. Trustee Shuttleworth, did you have anything you'd like to add to that report in an oral fashion? Or
I don't think so. The one thing that did come up, which is now under review at SEAC, is what the definition of disability is in relation to accessibility. So apart from that, I think most pieces were just updates on where we are with things, if I can recall correctly.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other committee reports? Trustee Reynolds, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, this actually isn't a committee report, but it's a question for the Accessibility Committee, if I may, please. I had a question from a member of the community who wanted to know whether there was did this committee offer an opportunity for community members to apply to or to participate in any meaningful way? And I was just hoping if you could answer that. Perhaps I can point to this piece of the video, and they can share that out, please.
So I will not know that answer, but maybe Executive Officer Gadet might know the answer, as he is one of the chairs of the committee now.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair to Trustee Reynolds, we are looking, so we presented a draft terms of reference to the committee at our last meeting. I'll say it's very similar to the draft terms of reference for the environmental management team. And it's looking to articulate what the membership is, what the goals of the committee is or are, And with that, we have identified, I think, an appetite to explore how to engage community voice, student voice, and staff voice, especially those with lived experience. So I am hopeful that you will see us progress with that in subsequent meetings and hopefully reach out to the community.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, and Vice Chair Al Harrison, go right ahead.
Hi, through you, Madam Chair. I just want to recognize that the SEAC meeting was last night. Trustee Garrett is my partner on that committee, as are Trustees Shuttleworth and Oliver. So it was just last night, so we did not have an opportunity to write a report, but there's maybe a couple of items that we can highlight if Trustee Garrett agrees. The first one is that we did have quite an extensive presentation from Sean Marks on the problem-solving pathway, and the associations, I think, found it very interesting and helpful. And then the second thing is just with respect to a letter that SEAC is planning to write to the ministry regarding the traditional semester model and a return to it. Trustee Garrett, did I miss anything?
No, I don't believe so. It was a great meeting last night, and it was really nice to hear that SEAC wanted to support our board with a letter. And you know, any support that we can get is great. So appreciate it.
Last night. There are no other speakers on the speakers list at this point. So we will be moving on to trustee questions and comments. Go ahead and add yourself to the speakers list if you have a question or a comment. Trustee Collard, go right ahead.
Oh, I didn't expect to be first. Manager Gortmaker just wanted me to clarify that it was ERA 106 and 107 that should have been in the motion. She said that Manager Thibault needed to have that clarified so that we were sure we had the motion right.
If I may, just through you, Chair Gerbens, to Amy or Trustee Collard, we were going to add just to play it safe, albeit it's just 3 schools that are being impacted that the physical locations fall within 106 and 107. We're just going to throw in 105 too, just so it's clear that it's the whole Florence Mears boundary, which also encapsulates that.
Absolutely.
So just to make it fully transparent in case there's any questions around that. But really the intent of the ERAs is what schools are impacted.
Yeah.
But this one kind of transcends boundaries. So we just want to amend the motion to include 105, 106, and 107.
Well, that's fine with me. I just hope it's fine with Trustee or Chair Gerbens.
It's fine with me. Manager Gortmaker, do you need us to make any kind of motion correcting that at all?
I don't, Chair Gerbens. I think that was the intent of asking Trustee Collard to raise it during questions and comments so that General Manager Thibault could make that on the public record. The clarification is clear. As long as the board's willing to accept it as a friendly amendment, if you will, or a typo clarification, I can make that notation in the minutes, correct the motion accordingly.
Okay, great. And I've been communicating with, because those schools are in my area, and I've been communicating with the community, so they are aware of the schools that were intended. So I'm not sure that my community would be even really aware of the numbering system. They just know that they will be part of a boundary review.
Thanks very much.
And thank you for clarifying that, Trustee Collard. Okay, Trustee Amos, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, maybe to the director or to Senior Manager Thibodeau. I've been getting a lot of questions from my community, and I just wondered if we have heard back yet about funding for the new elementary school for Northeast Oakville, or in the second part of the question is, I've been getting a lot of questions about the status of the high school. So if you could, if there's any new information to share, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Through Chair Gabens to Trustee Amos, with regards to any announcements for the capital priorities, we're still awaiting any news on that. The meetings that we've had with the ministry have advised as to how anxious we are to get started on this. So we're hopeful it's soon. They said fall. Unfortunately, that moves into December, but here's hoping. So we're doing what we can to make sure that when the announcement comes, we're hitting the ground running. So we're as expeditious as possible. To your latter question with regards to the Oakville High School sites, we've been working collaboratively with our development partners that are currently advancing development applications for the site. We're hoping that we're going to have something into the town sooner rather than later, and there is definitely motivation, I think, on all fronts. The motivation remains on all fronts and all municipalities as well as public entities to get this thing moving. So it's getting there.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Okay, Trustee Daniele, go right ahead.
Thank you very much. I would like to send a shout out and congratulations to a former Milton District High School student, Travis Garretts. As you may be aware, Travis Garretts is not only a standout in freestyle aerial skiing, he is a multi-time national champion. He competed in the 2014 Sochi Olympics, and he won a silver at the World Championships. And this past weekend, he was inducted into the Milton Sports Hall of Fame. So congratulations to Milton District High School graduate Travis Garretts. We're so proud of you.
That is wonderful news. There is a spot on your TV. You can look it up on YouTube if people would like to do that. I watched it. It was very informative, and congratulations to him and to his very proud mom, who happens to be a trustee on our board. Heather, would you like to say anything at all?
The only thing I'll say is it was an absolutely incredible journey that if I had to do it all over again, I'd still be poor, but it was incredible. And congratulations to Trav, because he worked hard for everything that he achieved.
That's great. Trustee Reynolds, go right ahead.
Yes, I am actually signaling a request to speak on behalf of student trustee Vidya Lakara. She couldn't access the piece.
Okay, go ahead, Trustee Vidya Lankara.
Thank you. Through the chair to Director Ennis. 1 second, sorry. Many of our student senators are eager to return to in-person Senate meetings, and seeing as many clubs and sports are running after school in gyms, classrooms, and cafeterias, as well as the rise in vaccination levels for students, we just wanted to check in to see whether we could hold our Senate meetings in person in a hybrid model with physical distancing measures in place. We understand that board meetings can't happen in person at JWS, but perhaps we could host our Senate meetings at another location like Gary Allen in Milton. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair. Certainly we have been having conversations with public health on a number of issues around meetings and what they look like. And I know there can be seeming contradictions with, the sporting events that are taking place with 20,000 fans screaming at each other, as I like to say, 2 centimeters from each other, and the requirements that are placed on us. And I know Superintendent Blackwell, you've had this conversation with our public health partners, and perhaps you'd like to give Trustee Vidya Lankara a more fulsome response.
Thank you. Through the chair to Trustee Vidya Lankara, sorry. I think it's similar to my last answer. We're almost there, but not yet. I think you're going to see an opportunity as we hear more from the ministry in terms of easing some of the restrictions that come with vaccination rates. It's very difficult to do a hybrid meeting with students in person and then be able to facilitate that. So that's something we've tried it a lot within our schools for our staff meetings. So just a consideration. I'll take it back to public health and have the conversation. I would think for the next month or so, as we provided guidance to the board in terms of not being in person, that we just hold off on that. Because when we do it and have those meetings, I know how important they are, and the hybrid piece could be very problematic just for getting through some of the important work that you do. So how about not yet? But I'll ask for you and inquire and bring it back to you. Okay.
Thank you so much. Could I just have a really quick follow-up?
Sure.
Go ahead. Thank you. So just to confirm, I guess, what makes the Student Senate, I guess, different than any other club at a school would be the fact that we're like a board level committee. Would that be why we can't have like a space to run our meetings like any other extracurricular in a school?
Yeah, I think it's the board level piece, just in terms of the contact tracing. When it's within a school, there are processes in place when we talk about contact tracing. So schools have lists and access to information. I think we're almost there, Vandy. So I'll get back to you because I do anticipate that there will be some restrictions that are starting to lessen, and that could apply for some of ours as well. I know that with our administrators, we often have regional meetings where, there's 2 people from each school that come out, and we're not doing that either right now. We're holding off and running them completely virtual, just to ensure that we can get that learning and the opportunity to run our meetings of the important work that we do without having the delay and some people in, some people out. And again, there is contact tracing protocol pieces as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, the next speaker is Trustee Gray. Go right ahead.
Thank you very much. Through the chair to Director Ennis. I've been following the media releases that have been circulating, and I recognize that some boards around us are currently conducting reviews of resources found in school libraries, for example. So my question is this: do we have a framework in place right now to guide the review of the books and resources at the books and elementary and secondary school classroom resources held in our libraries? Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Proto, and I see Superintendent Salvini as well. Come on, go ahead, Claire.
Through the chair to Trustee Gray, we do have a process, and our library technicians and our library and teachers have been going through a process through all of our libraries to cull and examine what books we have, which books have authentic authors, as in the author matches the character's traits, sometimes racialized character or LGBTQ S. So they've been going through that process. It's not formal. They did write up some guidelines to go by so that they could see what they were looking for and have some consistency from library to library. They haven't done it with all of them, but they are looking to go through every library in our board. Just as a follow-up today, almost all of them were able to attend a book fair that was in Oakville, and I popped by for a little bit. And as a wonderful side note, and an avid reader myself and former English teacher, I was overwhelmed at the representation, the equity representation in all of the books. And I'm talking about, racialized characters and LGBTQS, as I mentioned, but also there was tons of books on special education and books called things like What It's Like to Have Autism. I was floored. I really I don't remember the last time I was at a book fair, but and so our staff were there picking through those to see where we need to put books back on the shelves to better represent the kids that we have in our classrooms.
And if I can just add through the chair to Trustee Gray, last year we did do an extensive review of the AP, which speaks to selecting instructional materials and library resources. And it was a cross-departmental effort with folks from our equity team. And we did in-service all administrators during a meeting on that new administrative procedure. And also they did with their staff. So we are confident that it is in keeping with the way forward, and that it's a work in progress, but certainly we've highlighted that for our staff and criteria for us to really start looking deeply at the resources that we use in our libraries, but also across our schools and our classrooms as well.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Vice Chair Harrison, go right ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, I have 2 information requests for the future. One of them is just that an update comes regarding the status of the take-home COVID tests that were announced by the minister very recently. And then the second one is just with respect to the board experiential education funding program. And I understand that there are a number of projects across the board in both panels that are going to be getting started and support the multi-year plan. So it would be great to hear how that goes, perhaps through the operational plan reporting or at some other point that is most appropriate.
Thank you. Through the chair, we'll be happy to report back on that. Superintendent Blackwell, did you want to respond? Oh, I saw you.
I'm happy to bring it back. I heard the testing piece, so I was going to respond just in terms of our meeting this morning, but we'll probably have better answers next time. Unless you'd like me to respond, I'm happy to.
Vice Chair Harrison, you were asking for a future update, were you?
Yeah, just because it's probably in the works still at this point in time. Right. And I mainly asked that one just in case anybody's watching, and I know that I've had a bunch of questions over the last couple months just about the testing and so on. So this is kind of the newest evolution that we're reacting to, because I'm imagining that we heard it the same time as everybody else kind of thing through the media. So that leaps into action, a process with lots of people trying to figure out how this is all going to work in absence of details. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and Trustee Daniele, go right ahead.
Thank you. My apologies. I forgot when I spoke first to remind trustees that the OPSPA Central West meeting will be happening on Saturday. It is Zoom. It is open to all trustees in the Central West region, of which the school board is a member. Should you be unable to attend, the whole focus of the meeting will be around Project Compass. And as you may be aware, Project Compass is a comprehensive review of OPSPA governance structures. Should you be unable to attend and provide input into the governance structure of OPSPA, which is your trustee association, October 8th, you were sent an email from Lisa Reinhardt about Zoom focus groups that will be taking part in December related to mission, vision, values, governance, model and structure, procedures and policies, and the policy setting process. So you could attend one of those 4 if you chosen, and I can forward that email to you again just so that you have that information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And seeing there's no more speakers on the speakers list, I have a question, and then I'd like to actually make a motion. So I've had a few inquiries from parents of grade 8 students that are outside of the HDSB, but are part of the region. So local private schools, the HCDSB, and they were wondering about registering and information nights for our high schools. And is there somewhere I can send them, or someone specific that I can send them to? And are we publicizing the information on information nights in local media so that we get beyond our grade 8 classes in our own board in case there are people looking to come to our board either for the first time or to come back to our board after homeschooling or something along those lines.
Thank you. Through the chair, Superintendent Nugent.
Yes, and through the chair, every year Communications Department through Marnie Danton advertises the dates in social media and puts that out so that all of Halton knows when those evenings are. We also ask all of our high schools and elementary schools to help promote those evenings, both on their websites and again on any signage outside of their schools. And this is usually done early November. Already, we have had evenings for IB throughout the region and iSTEM last week, which over 800 families joined to see the live stream of what iSTEM can offer. So the news is getting out there for sure, but I agree with you, Chair Gerbentz, we really need to continue to build our confidence in public education and provide that information to folks that may not be part of our system already.
Great, thank you very much. And then the motion I'd like to put forward is very topical as the director report talked about the redirection of students for Viola Desmond. It really comes down to the fact that we cannot build schools fast enough, and we are having a hard time funding schools as well through the money that is that is coming from the ministry. It does not match the actual costs of building a school, and those are referred to as benchmarks. So I think that we need to point out the detrimental effects of the very slow process, the approval process for our capital projects, as well as request a review of the benchmark funding for our schools so that it is appropriate. So Vice Chair Al Harrison, you will need to take the gavel.
Thank
Virtual.
you. Got it. Okay, so you've put the motion on the floor?
I haven't actually read the actual motion. Would you like me to do that?
Yes, please. And then I'm assuming you'll move it, and we'll then call for a seconder and then enable discussion on the topic, if any.
Okay, so the motion I would like to put forward is, be it resolved that the chair write a letter to the Minister of Education outlining the negative effects of the extraordinarily slow ministry approval process for capital projects, and to request the minister to adjust benchmark funding to reflect the true current and escalating costs of building schools. Be it further resolved that this letter be copied to local Halton MPPs, OPSPA, and school board chairs across the province. And I would like to move that, yes.
Okay, thank you. Is there a seconder?
I would like to.
Golly, I saw Trustee Oliver's hand first. Thank you, Trustee Oliver. But it sounds like you have some support here, so let's have some discussion now. Trustee Oliver, you'd like to speak on the topic, and then I'll go to the speakers list.
Yes, thank you. I'm very supportive of sending such a letter. We've had a number of examples over the last few years where the bureaucratic processes or political processes have gotten in the way of us having approvals done in a timely manner. The approval processes have resulted in loss of funds, etc. EDCs were one example where there was a delay in the changes that needed to be made, and that resulted in losses. And so I think it's imperative that the ministry and the premier are well aware of how the bureaucratic processes are getting in the way of getting things done and doing that efficiently and cost effectively. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to speak to the motion? Okay, seeing no more speakers, if you would kindly vote yay or nay.
Actually, I'd like to have a question. Sorry, I have a puppy that's nipping at me, so I couldn't get to the button. I was wondering if Executive Officer Gaudette could speak to the rising costs that he's experiencing as we're trying to build schools, just so our community understands what's happening.
Thank you.
Certainly. Thank you. Through the chair to trustees, we have had, I'll say, several projects that have experienced significant costs, whether that's due to COVID and the pandemic and or supply chain issues with shortages of product. But certainly a recent tender close, we've experienced a 20% increase in steel prices from our vendors of record. And I will say, we're still experiencing challenges delivering on our capital commitments from last year through our capital renewal and maintenance. But certainly with our new construction, our benchmarks, the ministry benchmarks are very difficult to achieve.
Okay, thank you. I'll look to the speakers list one more time. Seeing no speakers, if you would kindly vote. Okay, we have 9 people have voted. 10 and okay, great. And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. I will pass the gavel back to you, Chair Grimmins.
Thank you very much. And I'm just looking to the speakers list just in case anybody else had any other questions or comments. Seeing none, so we will move on to public questions. To ask a question, please use the button on the live stream page on the hdsb.ca website or use the link at the bottom of tonight's agenda. Questions posed during live stream meetings of the Board of Trustees may be answered during that meeting, particularly those related to actual agenda items for that evening, or at the following meeting at the discretion of the chair. For efficiency, multiple questions received that are similar in nature may be grouped together at the discretion of the chair or vice chair. Questions will not be attributed. When necessary, a notation will be made that multiple people ask the same question. Any questions that contain language that is hateful or discriminatory will not be considered. We are hoping that any questions that come in are of governance nature. If questions are coming in about specific schools, classes, anything like that, we ask that you direct them back to the school for which you have the question. They are the best people to address them. Vice Chair Harrison, have we any questions submitted this evening?
Thank you. No, Madam Chair, we have not.
Okay. Thank you very much. And just a reminder that there are several ways to be heard. by the Board of Trustees about your questions or concerns regarding governance and policies at the Halton District School Board. This question and answer portion of the meeting, of course, you can delegate the board and reach out directly to your local trustee. Trustee contact details are available on the hdsb.ca website. So now we need to rise into private sessions. So may I have a mover to do that? And I don't have my screen set up to see everybody. Hold on a second. Trustee Oliver, thank you. And a seconder? Trustee Reynolds, thank you very much. Is there any discussion going into private session? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries unanimously. We are now in private session. I suggest we take